All right, welcome to another deep dive. This time, we're focusing on a big name in Indian real estate, Oberoi Realty. You guys have given us a lot to work with today.
Yeah, we do.
We've got the earnings call transcript from Q3 of fiscal year 25. We've got their investor presentation, a press release, even their financial statements. So we're
Wow.
going to do a deep dive, not just into the numbers, but really what's behind Oberoi Realty's strategy, especially when it comes to the luxury market, how they're taking advantage of trends, and what clues we can find about where they're headed in the future. I think this is going to be pretty eye-opening.
Yeah, Oberoi Realty is interesting because they're known for creating these entire lifestyle experiences, not just building houses.
Right.
And so what I think we'll uncover is how their ambition is playing out on a really big scale, which is kind of fascinating, and what that means for their position in the market overall.
Yeah. So let's jump right in. Let's start with their Q3 performance, fiscal year 25. The press release paints a pretty positive picture. Revenue, PBT, that's profit before tax, and PT, profit after tax, all significantly up compared to the previous quarter and the same time last year.
Definitely. And a big reason for that, they highlight this both in the press release and on the earnings call, is the market's really positive reaction to the launch of Jardin at Oberoi Garden City, Thane.
Jordan is just one phase of this project, but get this. Vikas Oberoi, he's the chairman and managing director, actually said that it's comparable in size to entire projects for some other developers.
But that's a great point.
To put it in perspective, we're talking over X square feet. So
Wow.
that's massive.
That one detail speaks volumes about their scale and ambition. It's a sign they're not just building properties, they're trying to build these whole ecosystems.
Right, so let's talk about Oberoi Garden City in Thane. What exactly is their vision for this project?
Well, it's a mixed use development, like a signature mixed use development that's much more than just residential buildings. I mean, they're really envisioning a self-contained, almost like a city within a city. They've got a JW Marriott hotel planned, a huge shopping mall, even an international school. And based on what they said on the call, there are going to be many more phases to come.
On the earnings call, Vikas Oberoi even compared, living in Oberoi Garden City to being in Singapore or Hong Kong.
Right.
So that really paints a picture of a luxurious, self-sufficient lifestyle.
Absolutely.
But I did notice that some analysts raised concerns about the pre-sales figures for the quarter.
Right.
Some even called it a soft quarter.
Hmm.
Were you surprised by that?
Not really. There were some questions about a potential slowdown, especially after those high-profile sales at 360 West and Worley, but Oberoi Realty directly addressed those concerns.
Okay, so what's their explanation then for this apparent dip in pre-sales?
Well, they're taking a long-term view. They explain that deals for properties like the ones at 360 West, which are targeted at, ultra-high net worth individuals, those often take longer to finalize.
Oh, okay.
It's not unusual for those deals to take, 3 or 4 months.
Makes sense.
So while those sales may not be immediately reflected in the current quarter, they're expecting them to show up in the next few quarters.
Yeah, so it sounds like they're confident in the demand, especially for their higher-end properties.
Definitely.
And speaking of confidence, they also went ahead and increased prices in Borovali and Thane. Some analysts thought this was kind of risky, given the possibility of a market slowdown.
Sure, yeah, it is a bold move. But their justification for that, they actually pointed out that resale values for some of their earlier projects are already exceeding their launch prices. So they're saying that the market is basically placing a premium on the Oberoi brand.
Interesting.
So they're just bringing their pricing strategy in line with that reality.
So they're not just reacting to the market, they're trying to sort of set the pace.
Exactly.
Okay, and speaking of making moves, let's talk about their expansion plans.
Yeah.
It seems like they're not content just dominating in Mumbai.
Right. They've got broader ambition.
Absolutely. They're really going for aggressive growth. They've got multiple projects already in the works across different locations: Gurgaon, Darsnagar, Pedder Road, Tardeo, and they even have an SRA project in Bandra reclamation.
Yeah.
And it's not just like vague ideas. They confirmed that the planning is done.
Wow.
And these projects are, slated to launch between Q2 and Q3 of next year.
So it's not just expansion, it seems really strategic too.
Mm-hmm.
It struck me that all these locations are quite distinct.
Yeah.
It's like they're avoiding any internal competition, ensuring each project caters to a specific segment of the market.
Right. That kind of strategic thinking is really key to their success. And underpinning all of this is their really strong financial position. You can see this when you look at their cash flow.
Yeah, that's really interesting looking at the financials. They've got a lot of ready inventory from completed projects like 360 West and their project in Moreland. And then you've got the expected rental income from their commercial assets. Plus, Vikas Oberoi really emphasized on the call that they have basically no debt on those ready assets.
And that brings us to the question, what are they doing with all that cash?
Right.
Well, based on what we've heard and their recent activity, the answer's pretty clear. They're going for growth by buying up land,
Yeah.
aggressive land banking, and strategic acquisitions.
So we're already seeing that play out.
Ugh.
They recently acquired Normal Lifestyle Realty. They secured a really big land deal for 81 acres in Alabog.
Yeah.
And remember those pleasant surprises that Vikas Oberoi hinted at?
Yeah.
Those are probably future land acquisitions that we don't know about yet.
It's like they're playing chess,
Yeah.
They're always thinking several moves ahead.
Exactly, exactly. And then there's that big question mark hanging over the Versovo land deal with the Sahara Group.
Right.
Now, that one's a bit complicated because it's tied up in legal battles with the Supreme Court and SEBI, so we don't have all the details yet. But it's clearly a major deal that Oberoi is pursuing.
Absolutely.
And it seems like they're ready to put a lot of money into it if it goes through. They've already gotten that QIP approval. That's the Qualified Institutional Placement, a way to raise capital from institutional investors.
Yeah.
And like we said, their cash reserves are huge, so they're definitely not afraid to jump on opportunities when they see them.
It all points to a company that's not just going along with the market, they're trying to shape the market.
Right. But even the luxury market can be affected by, bigger economic forces.
Mm-hmm.
So how does Oberoi see a possible economic slowdown? Are they worried?
Well, from what I got on the call, he actually seemed pretty confident.
Right.
They even have a kind of interesting take on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's an interesting perspective. They think a slowdown could actually be good for them. Their reasoning is, in uncertain times, buyers tend to, gravitate towards quality and well-known brands. And Oberoi is definitely that.
It's true, yeah.
Yeah.
And they did increase prices, like we said, and there wasn't any pushback.
Right.
So that says something about their brand power, that people are willing to pay a premium for the Oberoi name, even if the economy isn't, doing great.
Yeah, it really shows how they've built a brand that represents luxury, exclusivity, and a certain level of assurance. But there's another layer to their strategy that we need to look at, and that's how they're using technology. It seems like they're not just building for today, they're building for the future.
That's right. Oberoi's approach to technology is what really makes them stand out. They're not just dipping their toes into digital stuff. They're fully embracing AI and data analytics.
On the call, they even said they want to have 1,000 people doing the work of 10,000 people.
Yeah, that's a pretty bold statement.
So how are they actually going to make that happen? Well, they're using some pretty advanced tools, AI-powered design tools that can do things like optimize the floor plans, predict how much material they'll need, even reduce waste during construction.
Oh, wow.
And this not only saves them money, but also helps with their sustainability goals. And it goes beyond design. They're using data analytics in their sales and marketing to make sure they're reaching the right buyers and to streamline, how they interact with customers.
It's amazing. It's like they're building a real estate company for, digital age.
Yeah.
It's interesting because luxury real estate is often associated with that, high-touch personal service.
Right.
But it seems like Oberoi is finding ways to combine that with this really cutting-edge technology. Do you think this gives them, a big advantage over their competitors?
I think so. You don't see a lot of traditional real estate developers taking this kind of tech-forward approach.
Yeah.
And it lets them be more efficient, make more data-driven decisions, and react faster to changes in the market.
It makes you wonder if this could change the whole industry,
Definitely.
And speaking of changing things, Oberoi's focus on sustainability really stood out to me, too.
Yeah.
They've won awards for their environmentally friendly practices and all their social initiatives. It seems like it's not just about profit for them.
No, they're definitely thinking about responsible development, too. And that's a smart move, especially with how much emphasis there is these days on ESG, environmental, social, and governance factors. Investors really care about that stuff now.
Right.
So by focusing on sustainability, Oberoi's not just improving their image, they're also putting themselves in a good position for the future.
So we've talked about their financials, which look great, their big expansion plans, their savvy use of technology and their commitment to sustainability, they seem to be doing everything right. But there's this one question that keeps coming back to me. They're so focused on luxury, and they're doing really well with it. But could that be a problem down the road? What if the luxury market takes a hit? Are they too specialized?
I see what you mean. I mean, they've definitely carved out like a dominant spot in the luxury market, but it's not like they're completely ignoring other segments.
Right.
For example, Oberoi Garden City in Thane has a mix of different types of housing. Not all of it is super high-end.
That's true. And they do have some projects that are more in the affordable category, even though that's not their main focus.
Exactly.
So maybe it's a way to diversify and manage some of the risks that come with just focusing on luxury.
It's a smart strategy to reach more customers and deal with the ups and downs that are always going to happen in the real estate world. But even if they stay mostly focused on luxury, I think their strong brand, their strategy, and how forward-thinking they are give them a real edge over the competition.
It's almost like they're protecting their business from any problems that might come up.
Yeah, like building a moat.
They're not just reacting to the market, they're actively trying to shape it. And it makes you wonder how their plans will change the real estate scene in Mumbai and other places.
Yeah, and remember those pleasant surprises that Vikas Oberoi mentioned?
Right.
Clearly, they've got more big moves planned. It'll be interesting to see what they come up with next.
We've covered a lot. Oberoi's financials, their projects, their strategies, even their vision for the future. This is a company that isn't afraid to, push the limits and try new things. But what does all this mean for our listeners? We've given them so much information. How can they connect the dots and figure out what it all means?
Well, to me, what's really striking is that Oberoi Realty is operating at a whole different level than many of their competitors. Their size, how financially solid they are, their vision, and how they're embracing new technologies. It shows that they're playing the long game.
Right.
It's not just about building properties, it's about building a legacy.
Yeah, it's like they looked at the whole real estate industry and said, we're going to do things our way. And so far, it seems like that's working really well for them.
They're not just keeping up, they're anticipating what's coming next. It's almost like they've seen the future of real estate and they're building towards it.
So for our listeners, I think there are some really important takeaways here.
Definitely.
Oberoi's story shows us that success, especially in a tough industry like real estate, takes more than just money.
Yeah, for sure.
You need a vision, you need to be strategic, you need to be open to new ideas, and I think most importantly, you have to understand your customer and how the market is changing.
It's not just about making a profit, it's about creating something valuable.
Right.
Oberoi Realty isn't just putting up buildings, they're building experiences. They're creating communities.
Yeah.
And I think that's what makes them different, and that's what's driving their success.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, here's a final question for you to think about.
Okay.
We've seen how Oberoi Realty is playing to its strengths, but could all this success actually lead to problems later on?
Interesting question.
As they grow so quickly and keep pushing the boundaries with technology and all these new ideas, will they still be able to maintain that same level of quality and exclusivity that their brand is known for?
That's the big question, isn't it?
Yeah.
Sometimes growing too fast can actually hurt a brand.
Right.
It's a balancing act, and it's going to be really interesting to see how Oberoi Realty deals with these challenges in the years to come.
It's a story worth keeping an eye on for sure.
Absolutely.
Until next time, keep diving deep.